Hi, everyone. Welcome to our fourth day of deep dive showcases for the 2022 summer internship hosted by Bea Group. So I just wanted to introduce myself. I'm June Bea, CEO of Bea Group, and this deep dive is blockchain design. This is our first time offering this deep dive, and just a little bit about the internship program. We have been working with school districts for the past 7 years running internship programs. At first it was in person, and when the pandemic happened, we moved it to an online work from home experience. All of the interns are paid. They had to apply and submit their resume, do an interview, and then there were 16 different deep dives that they could have selected. And these interns were either selected or placed into the blockchain design deep dive. So we've been working with Downey Unified, Glendale, as well as Davis, and our interns are high school students. They've been working for the past 6 weeks. And the first week was onboarding with us at Bea Group with sessions on leadership, communication mastery. And then every week they had social justice in the workplace sessions. Then starting the second week until last week, they worked with our deep dive leads. And we're so fortunate to have Kwaku and Adam here with us. So I wanted to bring them on. Hi, Adam. I believe Kwaku's also here. So
hello, everyone.
So this is our first time doing blockchain design. How was it?
For me, it was amazing. As always, the young people who I got to work with always stepped up and really helped me grow and push my thinking. Blockchain is a new technology, so it was very much a learning experience for me. Hopefully, as well for them. I think it was. I think we became a team, and they put a lot of thought into both the problems and the applications of the solutions that they came up with as blockchain technology. And I'm excited for them to share the work they put in. And then Kwaku also was the lead facilitator on this. You want to introduce yourself, Kwaku?
Hi, I'm Kwaku. And Adam pretty much stole all of my thunder. So instead of listening to me talk, I'd really love to dig into these presentations and hear about the amazing work and design that these interns have developed over the past couple of weeks.
Perfect. So we'll go ahead and get started. I'll let the work and the young people speak for themselves. Up first, we're going to have Nicholas, Luca, and Brian, and you guys can go ahead and share a screen or whatever you need to do and take it away.
All right. Hi, everyone. I'm Nicholas. My partner is Luca for this presentation, and then I don't know where Brian went, but one second, let me screen share our
yeah, that should have been.
wait.
Because we didn't have any.
Sorry, it's not letting me screen share. One second.
No problem. We'll get it.
Luca, could you screen share?
I have like 2 screens up, so I don't think it's gonna work.
If you guys want, you can share if you want to forward your presentation to us, and one of us could share it for you.
Okay.
Okay, one second.
Use the one that I gave you. The forfeiture rates will run next time. Because I think I don't know. Two options.
Okay. One second.
Their unvested options are getting forward.
Okay. Let me put the link in the chat. There you go. Sorry.
It's okay.
We'll get it. First go. It's all right. Going first always has a few kinks. All right, I'll pull this up for you. And you guys can just let me know next slide when you're ready.
Okay.
You got it, Nicholas?
Yep.
Cool.
All right. So our group worked on inflation control through blockchain. I'm Nicholas, and my partners were Luca and Brian. Next slide. All right. So the problem. Next slide. So our problem was the lack of control people have over their own money and the government manipulability, or the ability the government has to manipulate our money and control inflation. Whenever the government puts money into the economy, inflation skyrockets. And eventually, as we've seen in countries around the world, such as Zimbabwe or Venezuela, when they pour in all of this money, inflation skyrockets and money's not worth anything anymore. One day it's $10 for a loaf of bread. The next day it's 100,000. Next slide. So who were the stakeholders in our problem? It's the general population, banks, which include credit card companies, the government, and businesses. Next slide. So a pain point for our group is getting accurate information from governments and banks and getting cooperation from them, because it's going to be really hard to get governments to cooperate with us on this because they have a vested interest in controlling all of the money in the economy in their country. So getting them to cooperate will be really hard. So the current system as it stands is people work at their job, they get paid monthly or twice a month or weekly, and the money usually gets direct deposited to a bank. People can pay for goods with credit cards or by withdrawing money, and then the credit card transaction gets sent to the bank. The bank receives the credit card transaction or withdrawal transaction, and at the end of the month, it compiles a list of the month's transactions for the credit card, and it requests the customer to pay with a credit card bill. And then the businesses at the end of the month send the list of transactions they've received to the bank, and they request that money from the bank, and they're paid by the bank. So the trust issues with this is the bank trusts the customer to pay at the end of each month, and they can't be sure that the customer will pay. And when the customer doesn't pay, the only thing they can do is charge them late fees. Businesses trust the banks to pay them, and when that trust is broken, they can't really do anything. They can not accept those types of credit cards anymore, but then less people are going to come to the business because they only have that type of credit card, for example. People also trust the bank to keep their money safe and give it back to them, but they also don't have anything ensuring this, because the government can just dump in money whenever they want, give it to all the banks, and then their money becomes worthless, or the bank doesn't have all the money sitting in the back in a vault. The bank invests that money into other companies or investments to make money for themselves. So if somebody comes and requests all their money at once, the bank might not be able to pay them back. Next slide.
The solution, part 1. Next slide. Next slide. Cool. The downsides of cryptocurrencies. The downsides of cryptocurrencies are huge price fluctuations and not accepted by many vendors. So because cryptocurrency is currently really new in the Web3, since cryptocurrency and Web3 is both very new, not many places are accepting them as much as it was card or cash. So it'd be very hard to get into regulating that right now. So yeah.
Okay, so cryptocurrencies as a stable coin. That's why for our project, we decided to focus on a stable coin. A stable coin is pretty intuitive. and its purpose is to keep the value of the currency close and stable to some other value or currency or asset. Some of you know that some of you may have heard of the cryptocurrency or asset known as Luna, and that it abruptly dropped to zero. Now, the reasoning for that was complicated, but essentially the asset that Luna was linked to suffered huge price fluctuations, causing the currency to plummet in value. And that asset was another cryptocurrency. So through researching some of the downfalls of past stablecoins, we decided that we would link our stablecoin to the price of gold. Next slide. Linking a stablecoin to gold drastically reduces the chance of a disaster like Luna, since the asset is physical and a resource with limited supply, unlike a cryptocurrency. The coin would be almost entirely immune to inflation. In fact, gold tends to rise in real value during periods of inflation. So here's an example of how that cryptocurrency would work. We have an infographic here that shows it. So once someone gets paid from their job, they would take their money to some sort of digital exchange, like I'm sure you've heard of Coinbase that you can get on your iPhone. And from there, they would exchange their dollars for the stablecoin linked to gold. Behind the scenes, a vendor of gold would secure the amount the person purchased and keep it as a physical asset for them. Next slide. Like many solutions, linking a stablecoin to gold has its own issues. First, a stablecoin linked to gold would most definitely have less liquidity than your typical US dollar. And less liquidity means that it would be more difficult to exchange the currency for goods and services. In a perfect world, you'd be able to just walk into any store, like a gas station, and buy a candy bar with it, but that's just not realistic. Since the coin itself would be linked to physical gold that is stored for you, it would be much harder to sell that asset gold to somebody else quickly to be able to instantly just buy something at a store. So if you wanted that level of liquidity, you would have to wait to exchange your coins for dollars. So the solution mainly functions as an option for somebody trying to save their wealth and an investment rather than somebody who's trying to spend it right away. Also, gold itself isn't entirely immune to price fluctuations. It can also go up and down based on supply and demand. It has its own market. So that just reaffirms that the solution would only be for someone who wants to save their wealth and invest it, since they'd only want to sell their gold assets when the price for gold is relatively high. Next slide. Okay, and Brian will take the summary of our slides.
Okay, so the summary of our slides was, I'm gonna try to put this in the words of a 5-year-old, because so basically our problem was inflation. Inflation typically is, as we all know, when the price of money, not the price of money, sorry, the value of money goes down, so the price for stuff goes up. Our stakeholders in this project are going to be the general population, the banks, aka the credit cards, the government, and the businesses. Our solution to this was going to link a stable coin to gold. And from this, we could use this gold as a Web3 solution to decentralize our money to avoid inflation. Therefore, our pain points would come into play.
All right, thank you guys so much for watching. That's all.
Awesome. Thank you very much, fellas. Appreciate it. Nicholas, Luca, and Brian. June, did you guys want to give feedback in between or do that at the end?
It's up to you. So we've done it both ways, so whatever makes sense.
Okay. I think we'll run through and we'll have a group feedback session at the end. So up next we have Charlotte, Robert, and Thomas. And so you guys can go ahead and share screen and get started whenever you're ready.
Oh, sorry.
Perfect. I can see it.
Hello, everybody. Can you guys hear me good? Yeah, okay. I would like to introduce myself. I am Robert Juarez.
And I'm Thomas. I'm Thomas Obiambo.
My name's Charlotte Hilton Miney.
And this is our presentation on blockchain in healthcare.
So right now, there is a problem in our healthcare system with the sharing of medical records. There's really no way to share records quickly in an emergency situation. And it's really difficult to connect care across different doctors and specialists. So it's really very difficult to integrate care, which a lot of patients would benefit from. This also means that in an emergency situation, your care is really hindered because the doctors are treating you with no knowledge of your medical history, and that can be really relevant for a lot of people. And it also means that people don't get the best preventative care because doctors don't always have all the right information and they can't always tell what the specialist is doing or what they should do to better treat you.
At the start of this project, we finished page 1 of the mural titled "My First Blockchain" and had noted patients, insurance providers, and healthcare providers, and then came to the understanding that our first stakeholder are indeed the patients, with the second being pharmacists, and the intermediary stakeholders being doctors, drug distributors, and insurances. We arranged this as a process where a patient feels ill or hurt and ends with them receiving medication or treatment.
And what's the pain point of the current system for keeping medical records? Well, different hospitals have different systems of maintaining their information, and this brings in consistency. And also, usually patients are not in control of the medical information, the data. It's usually under the control of the doctor. You would have to have permission from the doctor to get the information to do with it whatever you want. And also HIPAA, although it does protect patient privacy, it creates complications and makes things a little bit more difficult when it comes to the sharing of this information.
These photos were taken by me when helping an office move to another office. I was helping a staffing agency, and as we can see, these are all health records. Starting from the third picture, that is originally how they all had it organized, which can seem a little problematic, chaotic. And then in the second picture, I know it's a little blurry, but it's when a patient moves to another doctor, they simply just write seeing another doctor, and then from there they just have their file. And in the first picture, it is when we were actually moving things, and as you guys can see, it got pretty problematic pretty fast. From that and other problems we would have to face, we came up with 3 open-ended questions. Those thus being, how does integrated care impact your health outcomes? How can a patient be involved in their integrated care? And how can blockchain help in the improvement of patients' integrated care?
So after kind of asking these open-ended questions and doing a little bit of research, our group developed these parameters for our solution. So we wanted it to be HIPAA compliant because HIPAA is the federal law that governs patient privacy, and we also want to protect patient privacy. But we also wanted the patient to be more in control of the information so that they are in charge of who sees it at what time. They're the ones who initiate sharing the information. And we also wanted our solution to be easy to understand and easy to universally apply. So it wouldn't be like some applications where it's sort of focused on one hospital or one healthcare network. It could integrate care across like any network and be shared really quickly with any hospital or any doctor you need to, especially in an emergency. So kind of based on this, we created this solution to put medical information on a blockchain that would sort of hold the medical information for a network of patients across multiple hospitals and multiple smaller practices as well. And this blockchain would be managed by an independent body So not a single hospital or a single insurance company, but it would kind of be this independent body that doesn't have any conflict of interest with the information. And with our solution, the information is stored across many nodes in different stakeholder offices, so in different hospital offices, different insurance records, and across just many different places that the information is really secure. And with our solution, the patients control access to their specific information using a digital wallet to give access to new doctors they seek care from. This digital wallet is like a digital key to their specific information on the blockchain, and it makes it so that they're in control of the sharing of the information, and they're always aware of, they can always do it very quickly and instantly when they need to. So this solution is still in the early stages of development, but if we take it further, there are some challenges that we would have to confront. The first challenge is application across a large network of providers. It would be very difficult to get a lot of hospitals and practices to change their current systems. It's a complicated process. And we would have to find a way to convince a large network of hospitals to do that to make our solution the most beneficial. Another challenge we would face is kind of convincing people to trust the technology, because Web3 and blockchain are still very new, and a lot of people might not have that trust yet that their information is safe in this digital format. And our final challenge would be finding a network that can manage this blockchain and keep it secure and keep it impartial. They have no conflict of interest over the information. And so finding a network like that would be a challenge, because one right now doesn't quite exist yet.
And what's our elevator pitch? Basically, why should we try and solve this problem? Well, as you've seen from the pictures of the medical office, still records are being kept as paper records, and anything that involves blockchain will be a digital solution, and that will remove the need for papers. And also, integrating a digital system will also make the instant sharing of medical records easier. And the use of a digital wallet can help the patient determine who to give access to the information. And this can improve medical care. Sorry, let me read my notes. If a specialist can get instant access to a patient medical record, they can contribute to that, and they can also give the patient information about how to manage their disease and better improve their care. And also the basic fact that blockchain runs on nodes improves security for the medical records. If one node goes off, there's no need to worry, because the information is kept securely in another node.
So there are many use cases for our solution, and because we want to make it as universal as possible. But one example use case is setting up care for a new doctor. So say person A has an autoimmune disease with a long, complicated medical history. Well, moving cities, they would have to carry years and years of medical records with them to their new doctor. With our solution, their records would be stored digitally and securely. So there wouldn't be a long, complicated process of filling out forms and getting the records transferred, because that could take weeks before they can establish care at a new doctor. With our solution, it can happen instantly, because hospital visits and that whole medical history is on an online record in this blockchain. That blockchain can move with the patient and be transferred instantly with a digital wallet. So they can immediately start getting the best care possible with their full medical history available.
Honorable mentions. Some honorable mentions we have listed include my mother, who actually owns a healthcare staffing company and has taught us a bit of healthcare records, some problems with it in today's world, and essentially how immense it is. I would also like to give thanks or mention Kwaku and Adam by teaching us about Web3/blockchain and what type of Web3 solution we would most likely like to use. And we would also, and lastly, like to mention the other interns and the co-designers for the honest feedback in helping us maximize our presentation. And thank you for watching. Once again, I'm Robert Juarez.
And I'm Thomas.
And I'm Charlotte. Thank you.
Before our next group presents, I just want to give a special shout out to Robert's mom, who actually jumped into one of our deep dive sessions to help that team with their planning. She did an amazing job. Sorry, Adam, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh no, that's fun, and yeah, I appreciate it. And you as we go through these presentations, you'll see the level of like thoughtfulness that they put into not just like technology and coming up with solutions, but also the people, and they're genuinely trying to help and do good in the world, which is really exciting. And shout out right back to you guys, because I learned a lot from all y'all as well. Up next, we have Ryan, Victor, and Michelle. So whenever you guys are ready, you can go ahead and share screen and get started.
So before
Cool.
we begin, before we begin, we would like to mention that one of our teammates is unable to make it due to connection issues. But my name is Michelle, and my partners are Victor and Ryan, and our topic of discussion is a stable inflation currency.
Okay, so let's look at the problem that we're trying to solve. So a lot of people struggle with rapid inflation, with their money that they've already earned getting devalued. And so they don't have as much incentives to save it. And so later on, especially for retired people, they have a lot of issue living, and they aren't able to live as nice as a lifestyle if they're not making any money, because their money gets devalued very rapidly. And so Bitcoin also, another problem is that Bitcoin is it's not practical for a spending usage. At, like, let's say you go to like a coffee shop and and they accept Bitcoin. It's not practical because of how volatile it is, and the rate is like the value of it is always going up and down. And so one day you could open your Bitcoin wallet and it's crashed, and that's very bad. So let's look at how can we create a stable global economy resistant to rapid inflation. Okay, so our solution is basically a form of stable coin. And a stable coin is just a coin that is that uses some method to have a stable value. And some stable coins tie the value of their currency of the stable coin to an existing currency, like the US dollar, or an asset like gold. But the issue with that is, well, like the US dollar, that's kind of useless because the US dollar itself isn't stable, so the coin itself wouldn't be stable. And gold is a decentralized system, so people could lie about the amount of gold in circulation, and it's just not as trustworthy. So we had come across this idea of algorithmic stablecoins. And an algorithmic stablecoin is basically, you use an algorithm to put coins into circulation and burn coins in circulation. And so if the value of the coin goes up and it's more valuable, they'll put coins into circulation. The algorithm will know that and will put coins into circulation. And the other way around, if the value goes down, they'll burn coins in circulation. And so we would basically have this special coin. We'll take this this idea of algorithmic stablecoin, but not have it completely stable, because having no inflation could be detrimental to the economy if used at a wide scale. So we would implement like a 1% to 2% rate of inflation, but it wouldn't get more than 2%. So people who benefit from inflation and like economic circulation will still get those benefits, but like people wouldn't lose as much value in their money, and they'd be able to save money without having to worry about, you know, their money losing all of its value.
So how would people be affected by this is basically our stakeholders. So we have consumers, banks, and businesses. Consumers benefit from this idea since purchases and value of their own currency between countries would become more efficient and less confusing. Banks may benefit from growing interest rates caused by hot money flows, which allows them to earn short-term profits. And businesses can benefit through this currency as they help reduce payment costs and help increase funds for small businesses that help provide for the economy. So some questions we would come across from our solution would be what we would do is creating an algorithm that would be very tough and would require months of hard work with professionals working on it. And some questions would be, how would we get this currency adopted on a large scale? And how can people trust this currency and get them to invest their money into it? Our elevator pitch consists of many people these days that are suffering from the constant change in currency, with their value of their money constantly going up and down rapidly or changing. We also see a lot of economic divide in many areas of the world. Well, we're going to use a Web3 technology that could do that. That could control inflation rates that are used around the globe. Algorithmic stablecoins are cryptocurrencies that use computer algorithms to keep a stable value. No inflation is bad for the economy, but we can use the same technology to make a stable inflation rate of 1 to 2%, which would keep economic stimulation and allow people's money to not be overly devalued.
Okay, so here's an example use of our solution. So let's say one of our grandfathers had just retired and he made $80,000 a year for many years. As time goes on and he doesn't have any income anymore, the average income will go from, let's say, $80,000 to $130,000, right? During this inflation, his bank account will become a lot less valuable and he won't be able to indulge in things like he used to, and he'll be more focused on saving money because he doesn't have as much money to spend. So inflation is clearly the problem here, and a lot of people suffer like this. And it has to exist to maintain a capitalist economy. But the main issue is the inflation rates with rates. So I think if this person had like this, their money wouldn't be as devalued, and on the long term, they could benefit.
So thank you for listening. We would like to thank our leaders, Kwaku and Adam, for helping us through this process, our co-leaders, Megan and Alani, and everyone at Bio Group for giving us this opportunity to learn about a new subject. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Michelle and Ryan. And a shout out to Victor, who I knew worked hard on that, and is bummed he can't make it today. Up next, we're gonna have, sorry, where'd my order go? Up next, we have Timothy, Daniel, and Kiana. I'm not sure if Kiana's here, but Timothy and Daniel, I'm gonna let you guys go ahead and take it away whenever you're ready.
Kiana's having some connection issues, so she's trying to get in. So hopefully she can join us during the presentation at some point.
Cool, thanks.
Good morning. Hi, and do we start?
Yeah, you guys can go ahead and start whenever you're ready.
Okay, so hi, and good morning to everybody. My name is Daniel Ibarra, and my teammate is Timothy Liu, and as you know, Kiana Failu, who is having connection issues. And our topic today would be about courtroom dishonesty. And next slide. Dishonesty in the courtroom will often. Oh wait, we're looking into courtroom dishonesty because we see it as a major problem, since dishonesty in the courtroom will often result in innocent people getting punished for no reason. Next slide. This is our stakeholders in the courtroom. For stakeholder one, we would have defendants, lawyers, and witnesses. And for our intermediary stakeholders, we have the jurors. Stakeholder two would be the judges. And the reason, and if the trust lines between these stakeholders fall apart and become broken, judges can purposely and incorrectly invalidate a statement as an abuse of power, and lawyers may refuse to take or defend their client, and witnesses can lie to throw the defendant's case into being guilty. That's how these things could be broken. Next slide. This is our pain point, that it is unfair that courtroom members are not held accountable for manipulating the case's outcome and possibly punishing innocent people. Next slide. An open-ended question that we had was, how can we prevent innocent people from being punished due to courtroom dishonesty? Next.
Our solution, Our solution is a credibility score that's tied to each member of the courtroom and records their reliability in court. It would function similarly to a credit score in real life, in that a credit score is used to determine whether someone is reliable enough to lease them or give them a loan. Our credibility score goes up when you do something that makes you more reliable in court, such as complete a case, and it goes down when you do something that makes you less reliable, such as lie. We plan to have this score publicly viewable via an online database. This would help prevent dishonesty in the courtroom because the score would be used to assess the favorability of a member in court. This would act as an incentive for people to keep their score high. Are there any questions about our solution before I move on to our implementation plan? Cool. Before I go over the implementation of our solution, I kind of need to brief some vocabulary. So, an NTT is a non-transferable token, which is a cryptographic asset on a blockchain with unique identification codes and metadata that distinguish them from each other. Now, this may sound very similar to an NFT, and it's because it is similar to an NFT. The main difference between an NFT and an NTT is that an NTT is non-transferable, meaning it cannot be traded with anyone else. And this is applicable for our solution because they will be perfect for holding credibility scores. Our main issue with using NFTs for our solution was that people would be able to trade their credibility score NFTs, and someone who did not deserve a high credibility score would be able to get one. But this way, the scores will accurately represent the reliability of the holder. But who would mint and manage the NTTs with the credibility scores? The whole point of us working on this project was to prevent courtroom members from abusing their power by being dishonest. If we give the power to mint and transfer credibility score NTTs to a single person on the top of this hierarchy, we risk throwing our goal out the window because absolute power corrupts absolutely. The answer to this is not a who, but a what. Daniel, Kiana, and I actually did a lot of research for this because there's not too much online about Web3 tools. This whole thing is relatively new. So one instance where we messed up was when we came across the term DLT, or distributed ledger technology, which we thought would be a great solution to our problem because it allowed data to be stored across a lot of devices at the same time. But it's just an umbrella term for blockchain. So we kind of got thrown back to square one. But we eventually did find what we needed. So we found out that we needed a DAO. A DAO is a form of legal structure. Every member within a DAO typically shares a common goal. And basically, the DAO can make decisions based on votings on a proposal. This answers our question because the DAO's decisions would be influenced by many people instead of just one. First, the DAO itself will issue NTTs with starting credibility scores to every citizen. After a court case is concluded, either a video or a transcript of the case will be publicized, and members of a DAO will vote to raise or lower the credibility scores of courtroom members. Maybe one person was obviously lying, and so the poll would favor lowering their score. When a score is altered, the DAO will mint and transfer a new NTT with a new score to the courtroom member. This can effectively prevent our solution from being abused by a single power. An example of how this would be used is that, like, when hiring a lawyer or summoning a jury, people would refer to specific people's credibility scores as one of the factors to decide on one person or the other. In court cases, judges would be able to reference members' credibility scores to determine whose statements to believe. However, credibility scores would not override concrete evidence. So for example, if someone has a higher credibility score than me and they claim that I murdered someone they know, but I have evidence that I was in, like, say, Europe at the time of the murder, the statement would obviously be invalidated. Now, our solution is not without shortcomings. One of our biggest problems is that we have to provide records of a court case to DAO members for them to make their decision on how to vote. But a lot of people might not consent to publicizing, and we're not exactly sure how else we can help DAO members make their decisions. Additionally, we're aware that the voting systems are able to be swayed inaccurately due to impulsive, undereducated, and biased people. So we're considering implementing some requirements to be able to vote. We're also aware that DAOs are vulnerable to hacking, and we don't really know how to solve this, so any feedback is appreciated. In short, we're making credit scores for courtroom members to measure their reliability so that even if they do lie, it will not affect innocent people in the courtroom, because the scores will help invalidate statements made by dishonest people. People can use scores to determine whether they should believe, work for, or hire someone else. So that provides the incentive to keep their score high. These scores would be accessible through an online database, but a federal DAO will also issue NTTs with the credibility scores each time they are changed. Thank you so much for listening. We're happy to be here. I'm Tim, and my teammates are Kiana and Daniel. Are there any comments or questions?
Thanks so much, Timothy. If you guys could go ahead and stop sharing. That was a great presentation. I really enjoyed the thoughtfulness you guys put into trying to solve a complex problem like the criminal justice system. Ironically, kind of timely. If you guys watched the news yesterday, there was a pretty big deal with a high-profile court case and dishonesty. So maybe your solution can help solve that in the future. Up next, we have Aditya, Briseis, and Joshua. And so you guys can go ahead and share screen and get started whenever you'd like.
Okay. I think one of our teammates just their internet just messed up, so that was Josh. But Briseis and I are still here, so we're going to present.
Cool. Thanks, Aditya. And I can see your screen, so you guys can start whenever you'd like.
Okay. Okay. So our presentation is on how NTTs can improve digital security. My teammates are Joshua Soriano, I'm Aditya Bose, and my other teammate is Briseis Alvarado. Here's our problem description. Our main problem is the fact that hackers are easily able to use others' private identifying information for financial gain. Why is this so important? Because people can be thrown into debt where they lose all of their possessions. Another reason is through account takeover. Identity thieves can also take over your investment and other financial accounts, the impact of which could affect your retirement, your mortgage, and your child's education.
And for a stakeholder description, who is affected by the problem? People with social media accounts are most affected. 46% face a higher risk of identity fraud. People who and people who most often use public Wi-Fi. How will the solution potentially impact them, making the internet a safe and more protected place? Our pain point. Hackers can access our personal information through many sources such as banks, the government, and any website that we add our information to on the internet. Open-ended questions. How do we stop hackers from being able to access private information through the internet? How can we lessen the amount of access points for these hackers?
So our Web3 blockchain solution, we came down to NTTs. An NTT, which is a non-transferable token, is basically a financial security system consisting of digital data stored in a blockchain. The ownership of the NTT is recorded in the blockchain, and as the name states, it cannot be transferred by the owner. With our solution, with an NTT, a person could put their private identifying information on an NTT, and by being the owner of said NTT, nobody can profit off the information, not even them. It would be recorded by the blockchain for security purposes, and the information is theirs. By having your information only on the NTT, your information would now be stored in nodes across the blockchain, which makes your data strongly and better secured instead of scattered across the internet, which has many vulnerabilities and holes. To identify a few shortcomings with our system, we understand that this system would take a long time to set up due to how extreme of a change it would be compared to each and every government's current systems. Another shortcoming we have is we don't necessarily know if how the response would be to this idea, and if companies would want to change their systems to work with the NTTs. Also, considering we've only had 6 weeks to flesh out this problem, we haven't necessarily been able to test it in the real world, but on paper, this seems like a great idea.
And for our example use case, let's say someone input their information to make a purchase online, but this person was later alerted of an additional purchase made. This person didn't make this additional purchase, which means that their identity was stolen in order to make purchases with their information. The NTT could be used as a token to access this person's specific account. This would allow for only this person to access their account because they own that specific token of identification. Then, for example, the bank or the DMV will scan the blockchain to confirm this person's identity. So when purchasing something online in the future, people can use the NTT as a token of their identification and for credit card information without the risk of losing their identity like this person did previously. And our conclusion/summary. The problem we are trying to fix is that hackers can access people's private information way too easily. Most people affected by this are people with social media accounts. People can become vulnerable to hackers as soon as they connect to public Wi-Fi, but this will no longer be the case with NTTs. With that in mind, Web3 and blockchain can provide a solution in which we can turn people's information into NTTs so that only they are able to access their accounts. This would give people easy access to their own information while protecting it from anyone else. Thank you for listening.
Thanks so much, Aditya and Briseis. Appreciate you sharing. Oh, Joshua, just joining. I know you had some connecting issues. Your group just wrapped. Is there anything you want to share real quick? Sorry to put you on the spot as you come back in.
I don't think there's anything I can add anymore.
Okay, we're gonna do some feedback and we'll hear from you then. Sorry you missed out. Cool. And I love the thoughtfulness that you guys put into that as well. And data security and privacy, obviously a very important issue to people as we put more and more of our information out there into the ether. Up next, we have Maylin, David, and Eddie to finish us off. So you guys can go ahead and share screen and get started whenever you'd like.
All right, I'll share my screen. Are you guys able to see this?
It is loading right now. Let's see. Yep, we got you.
Okay, so our project or our problem we're trying to solve is illegal logging in the Amazon. And my name's Maylin.
And I'm David. Oh, and I'm David. Sorry, Eddie.
So the problem we're trying to solve here is the illegal logging happening in the Amazon rainforest. We think it's important as it can cause irreversible environmental destruction, and it can affect the indigenous population that lives in that environment in a negative way. So this is why we think it's a very important issue to resolve.
So now let's briefly go over a solution and we'll come back to more information on this. Next slide. So the blockchain related solution in order to solve this issue of illegal logging involves a distributed ledger, which is basically where all the data is not stored in a single place, but dispersed across the internet. The data of how all of this logging occurred would also be public, and therefore it would be transparent to prevent corruption and crime, and by extension, illegal logging. This data would be recorded and maintained by third parties and would be especially valuable to countries that lack the technology to have such widespread databases that allow for easy enforcement on their own.
And now on to our pain point. Next slide. Our pain point is associated with people acquiring permits. Some people have permits and log in restricted areas, and some people have fake permits and log. Next slide. Our open-ended question. How can we address illegal logging in the Amazon? Next slide.
So now onto the stakeholder description. Now that we're starting to understand the problem, let's look at some stakeholders that are affected and see how the proposed solution can help them. First, we have logging companies who are affected as they're the root of the problem. They're the ones causing the destruction and contributing to illegal logging. And the presented solution can stop more illegal logging and prevent that corruption from happening. And then we have environmentalists who are affected since illegal logging directly contrasts their goals of preventing environmental destruction and climate change, and the solution can preserve their environmental goals. And then we have the government who is affected as they control the land, and any damage done to the land can affect them directly. The government has a responsibility to deal with illegal practices and enforce laws, and the solution may benefit them and help prevent future illegal practices from happening. And then we have the indigenous people who are affected as logging can lead to destruction of their home and lifestyle, and the solution can help preserve that home. And then we have animals who are affected as they can lose their habitat and population due to this illegal logging and then the solution can lessen the damage on their environment and preserve both their habitats and population. And then we have the wood marketers who are affected since they have a moral and legal responsibility to not sell illegally logged wood, but may not know. And then the solution can prevent that from happening and keep their moral integrity intact. And then we have wood consumers who are affected as they buy the wood, and illegal logging can breach that trust they may have with the logging companies and marketers, etc., and may lead to decrease in wood consumption. And the solution can prevent that from happening, prevent them from buying illegally logged wood. And then finally, we have the landowners who are affected as a whole, as illegal logging on their land could change the composition of the land against the landowner's will, causing personal damages, and the solution can help preserve that land. So now with a deeper understanding of how each stakeholder is affected, let's look at how they're connected. So now that we know the stakeholders, we want to see the connection they have. We have two primary stakeholders, the logging companies and the wood consumers, as they're the beginning and the end of the system. And Eddie's going to be talking more on their connection.
So we have our two stakeholders, our logging companies and our wood consumers, and we have our intermediary stakeholder, which is our wood marketers. They're all connected in some way. So the logging company, they buy the land to log on. They identify which tree to cut down. They cut down the tree and they get paid for wood. The wood marketers inspect the wood, buy the wood, deliver the wood to the market, and then they sell the wood. Wood consumers inspect the wood, finalize their purchase, use the wood, and they buy more wood. Next slide, please. So if the bond is there and no trust is broken, the wood comes from the land where it is legal to log, the type of tree being cut down is legal to log, and the wood is logged legally, and as well as the type of wood and the quality of the wood. If the trust is broken, the land is illegal to log on and the environment is permanently damaged. Logging is illegal and it causes environmental damage as well as damage to nearby communities. The wood consumers and marketers, they get the wrong wood or illegally logged wood. Next slide, please.
So now we can look at some common goals that an honest logging company and the wood consumers would share. So the logging company would want to sell wood trustworthily and therefore not get sued or fined or shut down for illegal practices like illegal logging. Whereas the wood consumers want to get quality wood and they want to get legally logged wood. So the common goal here is that every piece of wood be good quality and legally logged. Next slide. So the benefits of blockchain here is if we store the data of how every single piece of wood was logged and where, we can see that we have a decentralized system, which is corruption resistant. It's also trustless because it's maintained by these third parties. So it's impossible to lie to the system and say, oh, I logged here, because you'll be caught. It's also permissionless because anybody can see it. Everybody can see this company was logging illegally, and then they could be shut down or fined or sued. And it's also standardized. So we would have a system where every single piece of wood is tracked. So that closes loopholes in the current system. Next slide. So now let's look at some potential impacts of this solution. Next slide. So some potential impacts, as we can see, logging companies would have to stop logging illegally, even on accident, and therefore we could see a decrease in illegal logging in the Amazon. Next slide. For the wood consumer specifically, they could actually request exactly what type of wood they want, and they can see where their wood came from and then how it was logged and all this data that they couldn't have seen before. Next slide. So now we can look at some potential headlines. So like in a theoretical world where the solution was implemented, we could, for example, see a headline, illegal logging in the Amazon decreases 96%. So this would be really good news for all of our stakeholders. But another potential headline could be Amazon still logging trees or still losing trees due to legal logging. Because although our solution would track illegal logging, it doesn't impact legal logging in any way. So it doesn't address that problem, only illegal logging. Next slide. Thank you so much for listening to my presentation or our presentation. Thank you, Eddie and Maylin. And thank you, Adam and Kwaku, for all the support and feedback.
Awesome. Thanks, Malin, David, and Eddie. Yeah, and as I listen to you guys explain how that solution, that blockchain and Web3 solution could be used, my mind just strays from, I like that you chose logging, but all supply chains. Like if we could have an accurate accounting of sourcing of materials, it would help people make perhaps more ethical choices and lead to a better world, which again, every group solution is leads in that direction, which that's what I enjoyed most about working on this deep dive. It's the fact that you guys are trying to leave things better than you found them. So I think we have some time for some questions and answers and feedback and things like that. I guess I'll open up to the group to see if anyone wanted to ask any questions before I continue or share any feedback.
I learned so much. This is awesome.
Well, while people are considering their questions, I just want to say a few words about the deep dive in general. Similar to what Adam said in the opening, there's a lot of this, and I think throughout the entire deep dive, we share this with all of you guys as well. The idea of expertise within this field and how neither Adam or I actually believe in someone being an expert right now in any of this work, because it's evolving so quickly and so rapidly. And so based upon that, one, as much as you feel that you may have learned, Adam and I probably learned just as much, whether it be in discoveries that you've made around blockchain or ways that you thought to implement it. And even from our perspective, how do we best either share this information with other people or create the opportunity for people to make the types of connections that you guys were making. It blows my mind that in this deep dive, not only did you guys learn about this emerging tech, but you also had to do, well, we encouraged you, you also had to do this deep dive into an issue and the struggles and the process around that issue. You had to learn how to design to solve problems. And you had to theoretically come up with a solution, which, as I think Aditya mentioned, wasn't something that you actually had the opportunity to test in the real world and then get feedback in that way. That's astounding. The bar, Adam and I were texting during this about this and saying like, man, this is way better than what we were able to do in high school. And he's 100% right. But the goal is for you, that's the baseline for you to be able to be more dynamic and more thoughtful and more powerful than we were at your age. And you guys have knocked that out of the box. But the goal, the high expectations of the education world that we both come from, is to have these expectations of you that you didn't even realize you could reach, which you are blowing away. Really, it floors me. And even from the beginning of this, when we were talking about this deep dive, and Megan, who, yeah, obviously, one of the co-designer interns, wanted to be a part of this deep dive because she did not like NFTs and did not like blockchain and wanted to know how this technology could actually be used for good. I'm actually really happy that it wasn't about Adam or I having to convince Megan or Alani, but more that the work that all of you have created is demonstrating it in the best possible way. So I just wanted to, I'm trying really hard because you guys know me and I'm way too talkative. So today I really wanted your work to do a majority of the talking, but I didn't want the presentation to end without thanking all of you interns for continually inspiring Adam and I through the authenticity and how dynamic your ideas and your solutions and your use of this technology is. And to thank the co-designer interns for because I know there are moments, Megan and Alani, where we're like, hey, go give them feedback. And you're like, I'm not exactly sure how to give them feedback. And so for embracing those moments of being uncomfortable and realizing that the ability to facilitate and to inspire and to give feedback, that you had that skill set as well. All right, that's it. I'm done talking. We should get to the questions.
Let's see. I was checking to see if there are questions on YouTube. And thanks everyone for watching. Let's see. Yeah, we have some comments on there. I have a question just for the group. I'm curious. So there were a couple things that were different about this internship versus other internships. One, it was all working from home. Two, this topic of blockchain. I'm just curious, what did you think it was going to be like? And then what are your takeaways after now that you've done your showcase, your research, working in teams? I'm going to call on folks. Thomas, can I call on you? Because we talked a little bit about this before the showcase. Would you be willing to share what you shared earlier?
Sure, yeah. What I've taken away from this experience is just to learn how to, what's the word? be comfortable in the uncomfortableness of things. A lot of the stuff we did is stuff that I didn't know. And through just sticking with I got more knowledgeable about this stuff. Yeah.
And what did you think about working from home?
I won't say I liked it, but it was just what it was. I mean, I think if we were together, it would have been better. But I mean, Kwaku and Adam did make things fun with the fun little exercises at the beginning of the meetings. So it wasn't that bad. It was, given with the situation, it was great. Yeah.
Did you learn anything about yourself you didn't know before?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I just that I can do stuff, you know, just it built confidence in myself. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, Thomas.
No worries.
How about you, Timothy?
Yeah, mainly it was just kind of like I found it different to like work with everyone online. It was because a lot of the platforms we used, I wasn't that familiar with. Like Mural, I had like kind of a steep learning curve for. But as soon as we got into Google Slides, everything was just about okay. And I got to communicate with my teammates outside through like social media and yeah, we exchanged numbers. So it was actually not that bad.
Do you have a takeaway from this internship?
Yeah, definitely. I learned to communicate a lot, definitely. I think without talking with my teammates and kind of like giving feedback to each other and getting feedback from the rest of the deep dive group, we wouldn't have been able to come as far as we have. So thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else who would like to share from the group? How about you, Eddie?
I liked it. The whole online thing, it was kind of good because, you know, some people have their own schedule, whether it's sports or work, and it worked out for me as good. And one thing I could take away is that I learned how to be more patient with my work and our group work. And yeah, I just like to thank Adam and Kwaku and all the co-designers for giving me opportunity to learn about this, because I came into this open-minded and I did not know nothing about this. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Eddie. Joshua, are you in a place where you can share?
Yes.
Thank you.
And I honestly thought this was a pretty fun experience, even though we're in quarantine. We're actually not quarantine. Since we're at home, I was actually looking forward to getting being able to meet people in person. But I think over time I kind of just accepted it, kind of. But I actually really liked this experience, and I also didn't even know anything about blockchain or Web3. So I say this was a pretty nice learning experience.
Yeah, thank you. It's something similar to Kwaku and Adam when we talked about doing a deep dive in blockchain. All of us were just open to seeing what you all come up with. So it's amazing, all the information and the different areas that this can reach. Thank you for all of that. Victor, would you be willing to share?
Yeah. Um, First of all, I just realized that I wasn't able to make it, of course. I would like to apologize to my colleagues for that. I notified Michelle that my computer was blocked completely from like accessing websites, and I even like contacted one of the BIA groups about it, so you guys could be notified about that.
Yes.
I was actually really disappointed about that. So yeah, just to figure out that presentation was over. And yeah, it was pretty disappointing. With my phone, it was also a bit difficult to even get on the Zoom because um yeah.
Hey, Victor, I put something in the chat about you talking because I know how hard you worked on this deep dive. And could you talk a little bit about maybe what you thought this experience would be? Maybe whether it be about, blockchain and Web3 beforehand and what you think now, maybe, or even talk about some of the things that you might have begun to understand in a different way as a result of the deep dive.
Yeah, so like so before the whole blockchain thing, I was a bit confused because there's like a lot to learn about. At first I thought it was gonna be like a typical like class thing because I actually did not know much about this. But over time, when I started like researching and stuff, I started learning like a lot about, I guess, crypto and also like the basic finances and stuff. And then moreover, I started learning like new things such as stable coins, Bitcoin, and like how there's different types and how each of them work in their own ways. And I think to this point, there's like a lot to reflect on that was really helpful. For example, like learning to communicate well, being able to be having like this consistency and being like committed to complete this goal. And I think that's like one of the things that I learned.
Thank you for sharing, Victor.
And yeah, thank you for sharing about the technology issues. And it is something that we definitely will continue to improve upon and reach out to our partner communities to see if we could get technology out to more interns. So thank you for that feedback. It's always important for us. We collect information and our goal is to continually improve. And so I hear you, and definitely we will do more to make sure the technology is more reliable moving forward. So thank you. Baylin, are you in a space where you can share?
Yeah, sure. I think for me, just because like blockchain was like a really foreign concept to me. Like I didn't know like anything about it except for like it's called blockchain. But like after this experience, like I definitely learned a lot. Like I learned about like NFTs, NTTs, like all that like terminology like associated with blockchain. And like I think like but like I feel like I would like to probably work more in person because like at home I feel like I'm like more comfortable and like I feel like if I was in person I might be more motivated to like work more and stuff. But like I think this was like a really good experience and opportunity, and like I liked working with my team members there, and then I really enjoyed like my team leads also, and I think this was overall like a really great experience.
Do you have a takeaway for yourself from this internship?
I think just like for me, like communicating more was like important to me because like I usually don't like communicating, but like I think like learning to communicate, you definitely get a lot more out of it than just like doing it by yourself and stuff.
Definitely. And again, with regard to that's again really great feedback with regard to in person versus online. So Kwaku, Adam, and I are all based in San Diego, and we have interns who are in Los Angeles. We have interns who are in the Sacramento area. And so to be able to collaborate and work together is possible because we are in a virtual, we are in an online space. And so if we can in the future, maybe have some opportunities that we have some in person. So you could meet Kwaku and Adam in person. And then that was our goal and intention in the beginning with what we wanted to do in the kickoff. And then we had to change that for a number of reasons because of the COVID rates were increasing at that point. And so in the future, that would be something we would definitely like to change. So thanks for that feedback. We will probably not ever be in person all the time just because of our leads and geography and logistics with regard to space, but certainly to have occasions where we can get together in person, that's something that we would like to definitely improve upon in the future. Does anyone else want to share? So thank you for that.
I would like to say something.
Please.
I just wanted to say that that the experience for this was like really amazing for me because like when I first tried to go into this deep dive, I saw blockchain and I didn't know what it was, so I just Googled it and it says like, and even in the Google definition, I didn't understand it, so that's why I chose this deep dive to see what it's really about and what it was because I saw something about code. And coding and computer science and stuff like that does interest me. So that's another reason why I took this deep dive. And and while I was in this deep dive, I did learn a few things. I did learn a few things like NTTs and NFTs, which I did hear before, but I didn't know completely. And there was also like the DAO that me and my team have researched on, and I was able to know more about Web3, blockchain, and how it could be designed to solve problems in the real world.
Is this going to change anything you might do in the future?
Yeah, it might influence because I was like I think I mentioned before, like I do like computer science, and I was thinking of it as something to do for my future, like a possibility. And with Web3, it might be another way, like of what another direction that I want to go, like Web3, another different technology that I could also like investigate and see what I can do with it. You know?
I actually want to bring up a topic that we are going to have all of the interns receive digital credentials. It's thanks to Kwaku and Adam and the interfaces that they've been working with and some other projects they're working on. So I'm just curious for all of you, what do you all think about getting a digital credential from this internship? So it would be certified by Bea Group. It would include information from your deep dive leads on what you worked on during the internship. So for yours, it could be your project presentation, for example, and it would have descriptions of what some of the tasks and activities you've completed. And then we could actually attach an example of your work. So I'm just curious for this group, what would that mean? How do you feel about having your own digital wallet of having a credential from Bea Group that you will have access to and control over? Any thoughts?
That sounds cool. Thank you very much.
What would be cool? I'm just curious when you say that, like, what does that mean to you, given all that you know about blockchain, more than other interns?
It's just cool knowing that you feel somewhat accomplished, knowing that you're walking out with new information, and not only do you have that information mentally, but now you have something that can prove not only to yourself, but you can show to your friends and family that, hey, look, I went through an internship and I learned something new. which would be about like Web3 and blockchain design, which is good because it's the next step of the internet. So we have that how do I say this, advantage, I guess, like that lead, since we learned it here.
It's something that I have wanted to do for over 20 years. The idea of when you go through an internship or in a work experience, what would it be like if your supervisor, your employer could essentially vouch for you and say, these interns demonstrated these kinds of skills and tasks and did it well. And we as the employer or the company will say, we're gonna put it out there and we're gonna say that you've demonstrated these skills. And better than what I actually thought about years ago was we actually now can show the work. So your projects, for those who made documentary films, we could actually attach a link to the film on your credential and be able to say and share, this is what was accomplished. So that's what we are so excited about. So I'm just curious, it could be something that you put on your LinkedIn. It could be something that you attach to your college application. So I'm curious, and I would love to stay in touch with you all on if there's going to be value for you moving forward in having a digital credential of your internship. I know I didn't ask a question, but I'm curious. Anyone have any feedback or thoughts about this?
No, yeah, like what I said earlier, since this is the Web3, that being this decentralized new form of the internet, since it is the next step, since I've heard it talked about in a podcast before. I think even Joe Rogan broke it up that, no, it was Adam 22. It was his podcaster. He brought it up that like he was also researching Web3. So it is coming around. And this internship did give us a lead into that. So let's say in the future, if we wanted a future with Web3, which we are getting, we could show them that, oh, look, back in 2020, I did this internship with Beha Group, Kwaku, Adam, and I actually got a lead and know what NTTs are. Like when Kwaku said in the chat, you will receive an NTT. Before this internship, I had no idea what that is, but now I know it's a non-tradable token. So this is for me and me only, and I can't sell this, which is good.
Yeah, that's awesome. Would you be willing to share, Charlotte, what you put in chat?
I think it would be great to like have something concrete to share about the experience that maybe like otherwise you would have, I think I might have struggled to define it for myself and like share it on a resume, but I think this would be a really cool way to like have like people just give this concrete thing that is like evidence of this experience and this really cool thing that you've done.
Thank you. That's exactly our intention, is that different than a resume, which is something you generate, it would be for both. So imagine if you're going for an interview and you have your resume, but then you also have your digital credential that you can show that what you put into your resume, someone else, the employer, the supervisor is now also validating what you are saying. And you have your project or other links that we put in. So for example, those of you who completed all of the social justice and the workplace sessions, there will be a certificate from that we're going to also include in there. And so it's one place where we can have as a space to share what you have accomplished. And so that's the part we're very, very excited about, is it's in addition to your own reflections on the experience. It would be from our side as the employer, as the mentors, to be able to share with words as well as with other evidence of what you have worked on during this internship. So that's going to go out to all of you, all of the interns across all 16 deep dives. And this is something that we just started. And it's really thanks to our partners, Kwaku and Adam, who brought this to our attention. And I'm just curious what's going to happen. And again, I would just love to find out if you ever use it for anything. So please do stay in touch with us. Let us know if there's value, because the value is if somebody starts asking for it or if you start using it. So I just invite you to keep us posted. I am gonna put Megan on the spot because Kwaku mentioned her earlier. And Megan, could you just share a little bit about how your journey of what you expressed during when you met Kwaku, we talked about this, and then like, where are you now?
Yeah, so I remember Kwaku coming in to one of our kind of like check-in meetings during the school year internship, and he was like pitching this idea for like a blockchain internship. And then June and Kwaku go, any feedback? And no one was talking, but I was like sitting there internally like, I know there's people out there who are interested in it. This is not my like niche. This is not my thing, but I gotta say something. So like I unmute, I'm like, I think it's a good idea, but I worry that like, because people are so focused on the potentiality of the technology, no one is really stopping to consider like the detriments that this technology is already kind of making on like the environment and people in like low income communities. And talking with Kwaku and like learning about the internship, I was like, you know, I would probably not really enjoy it, but I think it's something that's worth learning and like worth sitting down for, because I don't fully understand this technology. Like I know about its harms, but like there are benefits to it. And like I think there are ways in to like make it sustainable, make it so that it doesn't have to be this like horrible technology. So when I got like the offer to come back as like a co-designer intern, I was like, yeah, I do want to work with the blockchain one, even though it's not my thing, even though like I told Kwaku that I hated this stuff. Like I want to learn about it just so like I know how to hate it more. But yeah, I think throughout the process of co-designing, it has really kind of opened my eyes to blockchain technology. I'm not saying like I am like an advocate for blockchain. I'm not saying like love it now, but like I do better understand how it works. I do better understand like there are benefits to it and like how we can kind of negate the negative impacts that it may have. But yeah, I mean, I'm pretty much kind of like, yeah, I'm still kind of where I am with like my opinions on blockchain, but the internship as a whole, it was like really eye-opening and I really enjoyed working with like all the interns and the leads as well.
Thanks, Megan. It's really about making informed decisions. You don't have to love it after or be an advocate for it. It's more just in the spirit of knowing more so that you can make more informed choices moving forward. So that's awesome. And so yes, Megan was an intern last summer and then did the school year internship with us and then applied to be a co-designer intern with Bea Group. So she and Alani have been the co-designers supporting blockchain. So thank you, Megan. I do have Gary Pearson who just joined from Davis. I don't know, Gary, if you would like to say anything. This is the blockchain deep dive. Hi, Gary.
Well, good morning to everyone. I'm actually in Riverbank at the moment, so I'm not in Davis. I'm the CTE grant specialist that I've been working with the Bea team over the past few years. And my role is to be supportive of all of these endeavors through all of these summer interns and deep dives. Now I've attended many, so I will continue throughout the day. It is my pleasure to welcome all of you, but also to support all of you wherever you may be. And it's just, I keep hearing over and over about the opportunities, what I've learned, what can I do next? So to the students that are from Davis Joint Unified School District, thumbs up. That's all.
Thanks, Gary. Let's see. Kwaku and Adam, any final thoughts?
Adam, you want to go first?
Yeah, I mean, I think we heard from the young people, and it's just I think about how thoughtful they are and where I was when I was at their age, and I think this is one of the reasons I like to work in education and like working with young people, because it always leaves me feeling hopeful, and I think it helps keep me young a little bit too. So honestly, I while we get some thank yous for facilitating, that's really all I saw my role on this one, is specifically because I'm not an expert in this field, and it is new technology. So I just want to say thank you guys for bringing the energy every week and putting thought into the work, and I got a lot out of it. I enjoyed meeting you, and I enjoyed working with you all.
I 100% agree with that, with what Adam said. And someone, I forget, someone mentioned it, maybe it was Tim, but someone talked about how they got used to feeling uncomfortable. And I think that is really, I think that's just really important. That's an important lesson to take through life. Even Megan, where she was saying, this is not something that I would choose to do. This is not something I'm interested in. I think that that's powerful, because for any innovation to take place, you need differing opinions. You need people who may not agree with what's happening, but are willing to roll up their sleeves and work on improving a situation or improving a product or finding better solutions. And it feels that everyone within our deep dive did that. And so it's just great to see it, to be around it, to learn from it, and to be inspired by it.
Totally agree. Thank you all. Thanks to all of the interns. Thanks to Kwaku and Adam for leading this deep dive. Thanks everyone for watching us on YouTube. I'm actually going to stop the live stream in a minute after I make a plug for our upcoming live stream. We have in about 20 minutes, we have social media and event management at 11 Pacific time. And then at 2 p.m. we have environmental justice design at 2 p.m. And then Adam will be back at 4 p.m. with the group on business and business development and entrepreneurship. So please come back to the YouTube channel. So youtube.com/Bea Group. If you haven't subscribed, please do so. And we will be back in about 20 minutes. So thanks everyone. I'm going to stop this live stream now, and we will see you soon. For all of our interns, please do stay. We are